Hello YouTubers. In this video we're going to be working on servicing our all-wheel drive Haldex clutch system. So this is the mechanism here. The drive shaft comes into the Haldex, and then the Haldex determines if it sends it to the rear differential, which is this guy here. So now we're going to be servicing the Haldex. What the manual says is that we need to drop the differential down in order to get to it so that we can service it properly. But wanted to point out a couple of things. These are the little bolts that we're going after. That is the fill plug up there. That's what we got to loosen. And yeah, so let's do the first thing first. Let's get a jack underneath the differential, just up there with some pressure, not much. And we're going to be taking out that bolt there and that bolt there. So let's get it set up. So these are the tools you need for this job. I used a breaker bar, 1/2-inch breaker bar, 1/2-inch extension. I think that's a 9 or 10-inch extension, a ratchet, and an 18mm. That's all you need for the subframe. You also need a torque wrench if you want to put it back together right, and it tightens to 90 foot-pounds plus 15 degrees. And then this was what I used to take off the Haldex pan where the gasket goes. I used an H4, that's for the perimeter bolts. And I used an H8, that is for the fill plug. And this is what I use to help break all that stuff loose. And then to tighten it back up, because these are smaller numbers, I used a small torque wrench. I think it was 5.7 Newton meters. Anyway, it'll all be in the description below. Okay, here are our parts. There'll be a link to this in the description below. But here it comes with a filter, a gasket, and the fluid. I'll put everything individually, so if you just need the fluid, don't want the filter, you'll know what to buy. Okay, the differential is supported. And just for your bearings, I am on the left side of the car, driver's side, if you're in America. All right, now that that is somewhat supported, again, let's get that bolt and the other bolt on the other side out. There are 18mm. So here's our setup. I'm getting ready to put on my breaker bar, and we're getting ready to undo that. She's on there good. Let's do the other side. And there's our bolt. All right, next two we want to do. The next two that we want to do is this one here, and the one like it on the other side. That one there. So what I've done is I have left one to two turns of the bolt in the place, and that is, I can't imagine it needs to drop much lower, and the bolt wants to hit the exhaust. So that I can get it in cleanly, I'm going to leave a bolt here, and we'll just see if it needs more, then we'll take the bolt out and drop it down even further, but I can't imagine it's going to need much more. All right, let's do the other side. So before we get going on this part here, I will say that I took this bolt out. I probably should have left it in with just 1 to 2 screws, just like I did the other side, but I wasn't thinking. This could save you a lot of time down the road when you go to put the car back together or have to lift the differential and line these bolts back up. I would leave it in. If you need to drop it all the way down, then take it out, of course, but otherwise I would leave it in as 1 to 2 turns. Yeah, this one can come all the way out. All right, I think we're in a position to lower the differential down. she's down. Let's see if we got enough room. So what I have here is my H8 stubby with my wrench on it. All I want to do is break this thing loose. Okay, she's loose. Next, I'm not looking at taking the drain plug out yet, only because I don't want to get too dirty. We're going to start with these going around the perimeter, and they are H4s. So let me get my stubby for that. We use the same wrench, and we'll break those loose. So I just want to take a moment to show you the kind of room you're working with when you drop this. Hopefully we'll be able to get the cover off. That's what we're going for. That's where our filter is. And just want to give you an idea of the room as we get going. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my H4 and I'm just going around the perimeter and the center bolt. Don't forget the center bolt. And loosening all the bolts. I'm not worried about taking it out. I'm not trying to go and do everything all at once. I just want to make sure I can break it all loose. And if I can, then I'll continue on and remove all the bolts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and clean this area so that nothing, dirt, debris fall in there as I'm working. So let me get some brake parts cleaner and a brush, and I'm just going to clean it off. Okay, all the bolts are out. Okay, the breather tube is out. I will say it took some finagling with the screwdriver, but it will eventually come out. Just got to keep at it, prying at it. All right, okay, we're draining. We're drained. There's a bolt there that I did not know about, so don't forget that bolt there. All right, as soon as I started loosening that, it's not all the way out yet, fluid started pouring, so that's good. All right, let me get the plate off, figure out how to do that. Oop, there went my tip bolt. It goes in there. All right, let me get my rag. Okay, here goes our part. Just like that. No, didn't go like that. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not putting this back on it. But very clean. It's like a brand new one in there. Guess we can go ahead and take out the filter. Sorry. It just pops out. So a moment ago I said it was clean until I picked it up this way versus looking at it like that. That way it looks perfect. But she's dirty. Let me clean this up. Okay, here it is. All nice and clean. Yeah. All right. One thing I'm going to do is just wipe off in here as best I can. I don't feel comfortable spraying brake cleaner in here. So let me clean that. Okay, I'm going to put the filter back in. It should pop in. Oh, that was it. Yep, that's it. Yeah, she's in. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put our gasket on. I want to show you something about the gasket. Where is it? Do you see those ridges? There's more than one. One down there. Anyway, and there's one over there. Right there. Those clip in to here. So I can't film it and do it. Be right back. Okay, you can see how they bolt in or clip in right here and right here. I forget where the other one is, but that guides it, and that will hold this in place while you fit the panel back over, or the pan back over it. So let's fit our pan. She is started. Okay, all the bolts are in. Everything's tightened down to 5.7 Newton meters. Yep, 5.7. That's what it says. So I'll verify. And if I have to, I'll come back out and retort, but that's what I saw online. Now, here's our drain plug. We loosened it earlier. Or fill plug, rather. Let's get that out. All right, let's get some fluid and drop her in there. Okay, now what we need to do is to fill up the reservoir with the Haldex fluid. Yeah, so we're gonna fill it up till it starts to drip out, and then we're going to plug it up, and then we're going to crank the car for about a minute, let the pump over here prime, pushing fluid through the system, and then we're gonna come back here, pull the plug back open. I'm not gonna do the plug up to torque spec. I'm just going to do the plug up so that the system can flow without causing a leak here, and then we'll come back and recheck. So first, let's get this thing filled up. The instructions online say it should take 0.56 with the limited slip differential of a liter. So we're wanting to get at least this much into the system. Okay, let's start pumping. Okay, I put the drain plug in and just hand tight, pretty snug with my hand. And now I'm gonna go crank the car for a minute maybe. All right, let's take the fill plug back out. Okay, so I've filled it back up. I will say that it did not take all the fluid. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tighten that down to 14 Newton meters, the plug to 14 Newton meters. And I'm gonna put the differential back in place because filling this does not require the transfer or the rear differential to be down for any reason. You should be able to fill that, no problem, with it back attached to the car. So let me tighten that to 14 Newton meters, put back on these bolts here. They tighten to 90 foot-pounds. So I misspoke earlier and I said these torque to 90 foot-pounds. They do, but plus 15 degrees. So after it clicks, put your ratchet back on it and do another 15 degrees on all four. Where's the other ones? There they are. Okay, so that was pretty much the end of the video. After we bolted the differential back together, there's really not much more work to do on the car. Or there isn't anything else to do in the car. But I will tell you what I also did was I drove the car around the block slowly. I'm not looking to do any kind of harm to the car at first. So basically inching along, shifting through the gears, making sure everything works on the Haldex. Then I came back, jacked the car back up in the air, put it back in there, took off the fill plug and added more fluid, and it took more fluid. So here's what it took. So I probably added another 500 milliliters, maybe 500 milliliters, 50 milliliters anyway. So yeah, I would think first, like we did, we primed the system, that got some of the fluid going. We were able to add more, and then driving the car definitely put it in a position where it needed more fluid. I did not drive it far. I would recommend you not drive it far. All you want to do is to get the oil sloshing around in there, going through the filter like it's supposed to be doing, and then coming back and topping it off. If that just means going down to the end of your driveway and back, or to the nearest stop sign and back, so be it. It doesn't have to be far, just enough distance so that the fluid gets moving. Anyway, YouTubers, that's the end of the project. Hope you liked the video, and if you did, like the video.